It's an honor and a blessing to be able to speak about our dearest friend, Rodney. Mahilig si Rod sa kwentuhan, so we'll do a bit of that. So let's start from the very beginning. Rod and I have a unique origin story. Unfortunately, it's quite inappropriate, but I know Rod will want me to talk about it. So here's the PG version. I first interacted with Rod in third year high school at Xavier. One day, we were leaving the lecture hall, and I saw Rod carrying a brown manila envelope creased in the shape of a Betamax tape. So my first words to Rod were, "Pahirap naman," with a knowing smile which conveyed, "Say no more, I gotcha." Rod immediately understood and accommodated my request. That was our meet cute moment. In that instant, we knew we were going to be friends for life. We're all growing old now, but I still remember the license plate on Rodney's car from over 30 years ago. PSY 835 was the plate on Rodney's 1990 metallic blue Toyota Corolla. How could I forget that car? Rodney took us everywhere in his Corolla. Ateneo, SM North EDSA, Tagaytay, and friends' homes all over the city. Whenever I'd say, "Meet na lang tayo dun," Rodney would not have it. He would insist on picking me up. The hang was everything to Rod. But Rod did not always drive the Corolla. Before Uncle Roger and Auntie Aurora got him the Corolla, they gave him a modified owner-type jeepney. They put doors, windows, and an aftermarket air conditioner on it, but it's still low. Rodney gave all of his friends rides on the Lamborghini, whether they liked it or not. I could not forget the time that Rodney gave Oogie a ride back to Ateneo and wanted to drop him off the admin building where all the hot social chicks hung out. Utterly terrified of being seen emerging from the Lamborghini, Oogie said, "Okay na ako dito sa library, Rod." Rod insisted, "Malayo yung library. Hatid na kita sa admin para hindi ka mali." Oogie begged, "Rod, sa library na lang. Parang awa mo na." My best times with Rod were going out Friday and Saturday nights while in college and in the years after. Simple lang yung mga gimmick namin, movies at Mega Mall or Galleria. I can't count the number of 90s movies we saw together. We loved Face Off, Con Air, The Rock, Hard Target, Crimson Tide, and of course we fucking hated The English Patient. After the movies, the best part would be the midnight dinner at the original North Park on Wilson Street, operated by the late great Paeng Soon.
EK.
We would order fresh lemonade and salted fish fried rice. Yung ulam salted fish fried rice would be Yang Chow fried rice. So basically, rice with rice. Apart only from time with my family, those were the best days of my life, and I'm absolutely sure that Rodney enjoyed those times just as much. That's because friends are Rodney's greatest treasure and his true source of wealth. All of you right here, you are Rodney's treasures. To paraphrase Steve Martin, I would rather be with the people in this room than with the finest people in the world. One Christmas a few years ago, after lunch with Rodney, my daughter Chloe asked me, "Why did you choose Ninong Rodney to be my godfather?" It was a valid question. After all, on that day, Rodney wore a t-shirt which read, "Your girlfriend digs me." I explained to Chloe exactly why I chose Rod for her. I told her, "If you ever find yourself in a jam, Ninong Rodney is the first person you call. He will drop everything and make sure you are safe." Mark told the story of how one day Rod was puyat because his phone kept ringing in the middle of the night. So Mark asked Rod, "Ba't di mo kasi in-off yung phone mo sa gabi?" And Rod answered, "Baka kasi tumawag si Euge at kailangan magpasundo." And Rod wasn't joking. He was always first at the scene whenever I needed support. When my mom had a stroke in 2009, Rodney appeared at hospital within an hour of hearing about it. He was the first on the scene. I bet that most of you have similar stories about Rod and would agree that Rod is everyone's wingman. So tonight I say to Rod, magpahinga ka na, Rod. ipark na si PSY 835. Sinusundo ka na ng Diyos. Senior management in heaven have decided to bring you home early because they couldn't wait to enjoy the best times with you and to reward you with another helping of Payang salted fish fried rice. Kita-kits tayo, my friend and brother. I love you, Rod.
Thank you. Pasalamat lang kami kay sa pagtsaga na kay Rod for 3.5, 4 years. If it wasn't for Irene, hindi na umabot ng 3 months si Rod. And una nung nakita ni Irene si Rod, ayaw niya alagaan kasi hindi naman niya alam na charming si Rod. Thank you, Irene, na nagbago isip mo. Thank you for taking care of Rod. Dahil sa ito, a few more years to spend with Rod. And then, naka-isang Fantasy League Championship pa siya. And we'll always remember, na sinusubukan mo siya pigilan kumain ng huli. Pero, it was really time for him to go. Sige. Thank you, Irene. Please. And please, huwag niyo muna i-recruit si Irene. Mainit pa yung bangkay. Huwag mo, may mga nagte-text na sa akin kung available siya. Antayin muna natin magiging si Ron. Ha? Okay.
Thank you.
You can stop asking. Okay lang ako, ha? Okay. So before I last kahit ko si Ron, let's list down some of his accolades. Ice cream eating champion, Tetris champion, Pusoitos king, and 2-on-2 MVP. Actually, and then another footnote on that. That game, I think Rod hit 6 threes. They beat Bobby Guevara and Mr. Totanes. Pero nag-champion si Lit Enrique Toy. Si Rod pa rin MVP kasi si Mikey Commissioner. So, Rod won the MVP. Sorry. And I appreciate everyone thanking me for everything that I did for Rod. But hindi lang naman ako. It was a lot of us. TK, Pong, Jobs, Lit, huge parts, everyone in this room. Everyone helped, especially when Rod was in the hospital for the first time. Everyone from Batch 89, Spark, Ateneo 93, and Apacus. So thank you to everyone. And as Rich said, the reason everyone chipped in is because if Rod was in our place, he would definitely do the same thing for us. And I'm sure none of us have a doubt in our minds that he would do all of that and more for us. Just a few stories on what kind of friend Rod is. When we had COVID, I think in 2021, the height of COVID, our family, it was very difficult to get food at that time, if you remember. So, and yung pamilya namin, kalahati na COVID, kalahati hindi. So, we had to split up. Some of us went to my condo and some of us stayed at home. And Rod and Auntie Luz were the ones who made sure we were fed every day. They were nine heads to feed, and every day they made sure we had 3 meals delivered to both the houses. It was also during that time, a few weeks later, Rod was doing the same thing for Ricky. And I think the pressure was too much for him. Kasi mamapili si Ricky sa pagkain. Kaya na-stroke tuloy siya. Yun, and fortunately, both Rod and Ricky pulled through. Yeah, and I'll always be thankful for those things that he coordinated, and he didn't just do it for me. I think he did it for a lot of our other friends. And another incident is another time. It was about 1994. I had my orange L-type 1979 Lancer was in the shop. As you can imagine, that was a real chick magnet at that time. So it was in the shop for about 2 or 3 months, and I was working in FEB stockbrokers. For the younger ones, that's Far East Bank, which no longer exists. And Rodney was working in Tutuban. My office was in Intramuros. So since I didn't have a car, Rodney would pick me up every day. Not always on time, but somehow we'd make it by market opening at 9:30, and then Rod would proceed to go to his store in Tutuban to open the shop. And since medyo pagod siya kasi maaga siya nagising tuwing hapon, matutulog siya sa bodega niya. And by the way, his shop in Tutuban, he would sell bootleg perfume and a lot of Hanes shirts. So he had a loft. He had a loft in his store, sa bodega. He would lay down all the brand new Hanes shirts in plastic, and he would sleep. And he had a plan. He had a clock 17 that he would put beside him, just to make sure no one would steal the Hanes shirts. And one day when he woke up from his siesta, there was a guy holding his gun, pointing it at him. And just for a few seconds, they just stared at each other, and the guy ran away with his gun. Nung tinanong ko si Rod, ano yung ninakaw niya? Wala, yung baril lang. Which is probably the first time in history where someone was held up with his own gun, and the item stolen was his gun. Which is beside the point. Medyo nakakatawa lang yun. So si Rodney, really, chinaga niya talaga na sunduin ako all those months until the car was fixed. And I could go on and on with a lot more Rodney stories on how he was there for us. And totoo yung kwento ni Yuch, hindi kasi siya marunong magpalit ng gulong. So Rod was always worried that one day, Yuch might get a flat and not know who to call. Kaya si Rod, hindi talaga nagsasilent yan ng phone because of Eugene. There's I'd like to read nakalimutan ko pala sabihin. Sorry, I forgot. Well, I'll just go back to that. There's this one quote in the movie The Town. I think I've told you about this. Where Ben Affleck, Batman, is talking to Jeremy Renner, Hawkeye. The conversation goes, I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people. Jeremy Renner replies, whose car are we gonna take? So that sums up most of Rod's replies whenever I asked him to go with me. Yung usapan namin yung tag is, Rod, samahan mo ako dito. The reply is always, ano oras kita sunduin? Or sunduin mo ako, or ako masusundo sa iyo. He never asked what we were doing, where we were going. It was just, sige, ready ka na. And I guess that sums up what Rod has meant for all of us. Right? Di ba? Kung may kailangan tayo, he was always there. And the reason I'm okay is the Bible tells us that when we go to heaven, we're going to have bodies, glorious bodies that God has designed for us. So I imagine Rod having a much better looking body. And I guess if it was up to him, he would probably have Ricky Relosa's body right now. And siguro mas maganda na yung bigote niya. And, sorry. Yeah, and thank you for everything, Rod. Thank you for salamat sa pagsundo for the UAP games, for picking me up during Pusoidos, for the pickups during the Sunday dinners and Sunday Mass, and the Sunday dinners in Auntie Lucy's house. Sana wag mo muna ako sunduin. But one day I'll see you soon. Thanks, John.
I will miss you, Rod, more than you'll ever know. It was always basketball. I became close to Rod because he and I shared a love for basketball that goes back over 40 years. I remember Rod volunteering to be Xavier's official scorer when we were in grade 7 for varsity basketball games against other schools. It was a simpler time back then. The league provided 2 referees, but each school had to provide 1 statistician each to keep the official score and stats for the game. And these 2 statisticians had to agree at all times on the running score, the stats for each player, and most importantly, the fouls. And for the next 5 years until we graduated high school, Rod always assured me, "Aggressive ka lang. Di ka magfa-foul out, ako bahala." And true enough, there were games where I could have sworn I committed 7 fouls. And somehow, Rod always found a way to convince the other statistician and referees that I only had 4. Rod always found a way to keep me in the game. He always warned me though, before games against Ateneo and San Agustin. "Matalino itong mga score ng Ateneo at San Agustin. Di ko maloloko. Easy ka lang sa fouls today, ha?" It was always basketball. All throughout college, Rod and I were always on the same team together. We'd even stay after our classes and scout our opponents in the college intramural league. And before the games started, Rod and I would always buy the same pre-game meal from the sari-sari store. It was always snaku and Mountain Dew. And to this day, the love for basketball remains. 25 years ago, I had an idea to start playing fantasy NBA. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's not really that important. Just know that Rod was my first call when I wanted to get a group of 12 NBA fanatics together. And I'm sure many of you are here. And 25 years in, we're still at it. This group of nerds has grown to 18, and we're as strong and as ridiculous as when we were in our 20s, long before any of us were married or had kids. If it wasn't basketball, it was definitely cards. Rod was also with me at work for many, many years, and our weekly card game was sacred. The boys would come over, and we would shuffle and deal and shoot the shit for 3, 4, 5 hours. We'd come up with variations of Pusoidos so that up to 8 of us could play at once. We'd argue like 10-year-old boys about NBA greatest of all-time player rankings. We'd draft our all-time basketball teams and write them on the whiteboard and debate and vote on who has the best team. And we'd tell the same stories and jokes we've heard 100 times before and still laugh so much that we'd have to stop because Rod would inevitably start choking and cry when he laughed too hard. Rod was with me when I bought Ange an engagement ring because I was planning to ask her to marry me. Rod was with me when Ange said yes. He stood beside me on our wedding day and when our son was in the ICU the day after he was born. Rod was a godfather to our only child. He joined us each week for Sunday dinner at my mom's house for over 15 years until I left. He was one of the first people I told that I was migrating to Canada and that I was scared and that I had to leave for good in 2019. The last time I saw him in person was on May 8, 2019, and I told him to please look after my mom and my sister and our company, and I'd see him again. Rod was my first or second call each time I was at work or at play or just needed reassurance. Rod was a son to my mom and more than a brother to me, to my sister, and I'm sure to many of you here today. I'll always be sorry that I never got to see you again, Rod. Please forgive me. Thank you for everything, and I mean everything. I owe you one. I'll find you again someday, and I won't forget to bring the snaku and Mountain Dew. To all of you here today who, through the many years, have shown love and generosity towards our friend and our brother, Rod, thank you very much. As Mark said, we love Rod, we're generous to him, and we do things for him because we're all sure that if the roles were reversed, he'll do the same for us. Rest in peace, Rod. I'll see you again someday.
Dear Rodney, the day you left us, I posted a picture of you on Facebook with a caption saying, "A brother from another mother, but my family just the same." The other day, I got a horrified call from my dad's sister asking me why I didn't tell her that Charlie had anak sa labas. She was so scandalized. I was therefore forced to explain why I had said that. And I guess it was also a good opportunity for me to process and verbalize what you meant to me as a friend. I said, you were like family because you've always been a constant presence throughout most of my life. I don't know exactly how, but you quickly assimilated and naturally assimilated into the Kuunhing family like you've always belonged. My mom didn't know the names of most of my ikabarkada that I've known since I was 7, but she certainly knew yours. Even our cook Pina would ask about you and miss you when you're not on the dinner table. You were included in outings, you bantered like a brother with my siblings, and you were even the one who taught my brother Chris the ins and out of running his first store, including selling bootleg Sesame Street merchandise while his sister is working so hard to sell the real thing in Giftgate a few feet away from the Changet. I told her he's not the most responsible in other aspects of his life, like maybe diet choices, but this is not the time to talk about that. But there's nobody more dependable and reliable when you need him the most. For his friends, he will give everything he has and more. I don't remember a single time when you ever said no to me. Not even when I made you play Word Racer for 6 hours straight, halfway across the world, when I was anxiously waiting to give birth to my first child. After 16 hours of labor, you were waiting for me online, and you were the first one to text me with one word, game. I don't know how you manage to be everybody's person or go-to guy. But you made it look so easy. You made each one of us feel so special, so valued, so worthy to receive such preferential treatment. You were spoiling us and we didn't even know it. It must have been a tough job. But I know that you found fulfillment and a lot of joy to do it. Lowercase j. So, Rodney, thank you for everything. The friendship, the tough love, the laughter, the stories, the rides, the almanac of useless information. But most of all, thank you for just being in my life. I take comfort that you are now in a better place, but there will always be an ache in my heart when I think of you. You actually proved that my heart is not fully heart of stone. There is a soft spot that will always be safe for you. And that will be the one that will be aching when I think of you. I really wanted to say goodbye in person because I know you would have done the same for me. But somehow there were so many extraordinary obstacles that I faced trying to get there for your funeral. And I think you didn't want me to go there anyway. Maybe because there was a storm going through the US. And so until the end, I think you were still thinking of me before yourself. The only regret I have is that I didn't send this message to you earlier before you passed. So till we see each other again, find a good quorum there and keep everybody entertained till we see each other again. Love you, Rod.
So, I'll introduce myself. I'm Coque Villegas, also known as TK in Ateneo. So, JJ was confused for a while the other day. So it's the same person. What are the same? It's not the same one. Yeah. So, I've known Rod for 35 years. So that was way back in college. But I really can't remember the first time I actually met Rod. Looking back, I see him around. I was blockmates with some of the Saver boys in MB, and I got to get to side story when I saw Mike Ko and Harvey cheating. Sabi ko, okay, kita ako dito. That was a side story there. He was blockmates naman with my high school barkada, sila Anton, that of Senadon. So I bumped into him. But probably the first time I actually met Rod was actually when I tagged along kay Anton to visit Rod in the hospital. So that was time that he met an accident with his Ferrari. So,
Ferrari.
I tagged along because I wanted to get out. So years later, it was nothing to me, but Rod would fondly remember that, and he would tell me how much he was touched by this visit. But for me, kasi I was just trying to tag along and get out of class. No? So, but that was Rod. No? That was Rod. He was always appreciative of the little things, small gestures, and he makes it feel like it's a big deal for him now. That's Rodney for you. Even if when you look at the grand scheme of things, he's done much more for me and as a friend. Rod would tell stories, especially to my kids, how great a friend I was, that I helped him write the paper, his paper, or help him his schoolwork. But obviously, that's how Rod would like to build up, and I appreciate that. And when I have conversations about my son, it's always saying that, always praising my son, who's now in Saber. But I really appreciate how he does and said, no, your son's great. It's a brooding, that's his terms, it's a brooding boy. And I really appreciated that a lot. I think the other night, Lit had this message, and he said that he and Rod bonded through basketball and cards. And that was also the case for most of us now, in mission, the boys like Mark now. Maybe to the less degree, less intense as Rod and Lit now when it comes to basketball. But in my case, I also bonded with Rod now through food. And I'm sure people in this room would have their own, at least a story about food with Rod now, being a foodie that he is now. And in my case, Rod takes pride in discovering new places to eat and being the first to bring us there. So there's that sense of pride that I brought you a good place now. Siyempre, it comes with the Rod hype now. Parang he's just gonna build it up and you get too excited as well. No? But okay naman yung batting average niya. The grand scheme of things na parang more or less okay naman. After college, what he'd like to do is bring us to the old haunts namin. Reminisce like we'd go to the original trends in Kalayaan, Leching, and then when Sweet Inspiration opened in Shangri-La, let's go there. It's like back to that the old Sweet Inspiration at Katipunan. Even during the pandemic, it was all about food or relationship with Rod would send food. I was asking who sent, but he sent me a bangus na parang he was hyping it as the best ever. Sabi, don't fry it, just bake it. And it was like parang kinukulit niya ako, parang I just put it in the freezer and every day tatuloy niya, oh, natikman mo na. Sabi ko, kulit na to. So anyway, that's how it is. Na parang he liked it. That's very Rodney na. And then when I was saying, I told him, oh, okay yung fresh lumpia sa Manhattan. The next thing, padala siya kahit 2 piraso lang. I was asking Rocky, ano ba yan? It was this fresh lumpia from Hawan. And it was like, parang, again, tao ulit yan. Oh, kamusta? Gusto mo ba? Siyempre, you don't have any choice to say, okay yan, Rod. Well, after the pandemic, no, I wish I had done more or spent more time with Rod. The past couple of years, I think was tough for him. Was staying in the condo, it was very difficult for him. As he, in the past, he wanted to be surrounded with friends, or to be with friends. And I guess it became lonelier with this, condition. He would send me texts, simple text like, musta, just one liner. Or sometimes Irene would message me. And I knew he wanted to meet up. By the find time and go to Rob Mac, not just meet up with Rod. But looking back, I was just reflecting the past few days now. I'm quite thankful that I didn't get to do things with Rod over the past few months. One in the bucket list was that last October was that we finally played our first Pusoy game since he got sick. So we never got around that because of schedules, but at the same time, he was going to therapy, and that was our motivation before. Rod, kami na Joel, sila Mark, no? Pagdating ka na, kusay tayo, hindi ka kakalaro kung hindi ka magpagaling your therapy, no? So eventually, we got to do that. And Rod was sharp, no? He didn't win the game, but he was good enough. He was able to pick up the cards. The only thing he couldn't do was shuffle and hide the cards from Joel. Sinisinigtan yung cards niya, but otherwise, he was okay. Last December 27, it's quite recent. I messaged him, sabi ko, let's have dinner. And ito yung tipong panig ka back and forth of text and say, oh, saan mo gusto? Pili ka. Tapos kahit saan mo gusto? Kahit saan. Tapos biglang after a while, that brief exchange, sabi niya, home garden. So, apparently the week before, I think you hosted parking. You hosted dinner. Kasama sila Eugene, sabi niya. And Mark told me after that dinner, sabi niya, dali natin si PK dito after. So that was, and I think he didn't really enjoy the frog legs at the time kasi hindi niya nalagay yung salt and pepper combination niya.
Si Ate Luz nagsabi na
Si Ate Luz,
kailangan ng salt and pepper.
Ayun. So that was the time. I brought him there and among other things, we ordered the frog legs. Siguro dahil I didn't eat. Sabi ni, I think I didn't got 2 or 3. And then the rest, inubos siya with the salt and pepper combination. Naubos siya. That was like, that was great for me to see, no? That night, he demolished at the whole plate. Until lang ko kayo rin, taka lang, baka magalit pag may mangyari. patay ako kay Rocky na. But apparently, okay naman si Rocky with all that. Sabi ni Irene. So, so it was great to see Rod over the past couple of weeks that I've seen him to have that appetite back. It was, I guess, frustrating for me, no? Parang when we go out before, that he'd hardly eat, no? I mean, that was how we got together. The food was like really part of that. We'd, we'd really eat a lot, no? And then finally, I just want to share this, no? Last I invited Ron to my parents' place last New Year's. I wasn't too sure what was his plan. I called Mark and I asked Irene. And I wasn't sure if he had that stamina to go far. And then I was also worried. Paminsan kasi pagpagod siya after an hour, fast uwi na ako. No? So I didn't want like na parang it's gonna take a toll on him. But he said yes, no? So I didn't have a driver then, so sabi ko, sige, parang part of that hassle, sige, okay lang. I go pick him up, no? Sabi ko, I gave him a out, hindi okay yung food, baka simple lang. And, but he said yes, no? And I think I was pleasantly surprised. No? One is enjoying the food, he ate a lot, and he stayed hung out for 2-3 hours, no? More than I expected. And I think he enjoyed the chit chats, the interaction with my family, with my dad. No? In the end, my dad totally invited him. Oh, next time, kahit wala occasion, just go to the house, sumama ka when we have our Sunday lunch. And that was just 3 weeks ago. Na parang, and I was thinking about it, and I was glad, no? Parang that I went out of my way to take Rodney home and have a simple New Year's lunch. No? So that's it. Those are my thoughts. I'd like to thank salamat no, Irene sa lahat ng ginawa. Maybe you stand up. Pero tayo ko sa atin yung Mark. Salamat no. Hindi lang yung pag-aalaga mo. I think it's good yung pagmamahal na especially days na wala naman kami nakikita. No? So, maraming salamat. Hindi ko lang hype kasi baka magalit si Rod at si Mark. No? Kasi marami na nag-inspire sa akin. So,
Tigil na.
Atin na. Sabi ako, baka na umisyo pa. Dapat ask ko pa yung iba niyo. Anyway, to Kim, Sammy, no? I would like to let you know that God is always thinking about you guys. And that you know, Sammy, we have a lot of Ninogs and Ninangs. We'd like to keep in touch. We want to see you. And so just you know where we are, diba? Our numbers. No? To Rowena, Rosana, Rocky, thank you for taking good care of Rod over the past few years. I would say to Rod after I visited, oh, love ka talaga ng mga kapatid mo. Si Rocky, kahit inaaway mo. Love na love ka niya. And he would not. Especially when...
He better.
You know, up to the end, I was hoping Rod would make it like in the past. No? So, I saw him Tuesday in the ER. I would whisper to him more words of encouragement and gratitude. I didn't want to say goodbye. I was still hoping he'd recover and still receive respect that falls in the future na kamusta. So Rod, kamusta na? We miss you so much already, but I know you are in a better place now. Thank you. Thank you for everything, Rod. Love you.
I already spoke the other night, but this morning I asked people to send comments on what they wanted to say about Rod, and I wanted to read some of them. So maybe in between eulogies, I'll read one or two of them. And by the way, when Kokoy mentioned that Rod ate a lot of food during New Year's Day, I asked Irene, Irene, ano ba kinain ni Rod? Ang dami. Sabi niya, sarap ng salad, dami nakain ni Rod. Rod, kumain ka ng salad? Ano yung salad? Buko pandan daw. Bye-bye ng salad eh. So.
Hindi ba yun ang dad?
Okay, anyway, one comment from Angie, one of our, she said, I will always remember him as our teammate in quiz night. Because we joined this quiz night one time, me, Lip, and two other people. One of them was Angie. And of course, Rod got one of some of the answers, right? He was always so nice and lovely when he would keep in touch with me over FB. My deepest condolences to his family, friends, and loved ones. Just a note on this one. During the quiz night, nanalo kami kasi Rod was the only one in the whole crowd who got an answer to a question. I don't remember the question, pero yung sagot was Dolphy. Anyway, yeah. So because of that, we won, and we didn't win really anything. Pero
Bragging
para
rights.
may GC kami. Okay, now I think Sammy wants to say a few words.
Yes. Yay!
Hello everyone. I'd like to thank you all for coming here to visit my dad and to send him off. Well, I remember, I'd like to introduce myself that I'm Sammy. I am my dad's daughter. And I was like, I just felt, I just realized, oh my gosh, I just realized that, a lot of us share a lot of similar experiences with my dad. We'd all watch movies together, eat together. With the adults, they play pusoidos together. I wasn't allowed. But, what I realize now is that although my dad could easily do and enjoy all those things on his own, what I realized was that what really made them highlights for him was the fact that all of us were there with him instead of him just doing it alone. The real highlights of those moments were all of you, all of us. So I just realized how much my dad, cares about all his friends. And let's give an applause to my dad for all that. And I'm also so grateful for my dad's intentionality that, despite his tiredness, he'd do his best to reply, do his best to message, despite all the health conditions he had. And that he'd still really enjoy the time that he had with his friends and with his family. And also, I'm sorry, it blanked. But but I'd also like to say thank you to my dad, for how good he was to all of you, that he would always spend time with you, talk to you, drive all of us around. My dad was an incredible driver. I would never in my life have I gotten dizzy in his car. And I'm really so grateful for my dad for doing his best to take care of me and to raise me. And what I remember that my auntie Raquel told me was that, and what also was that actually all the siblings together, they made a pact and said, you know what, never in our lives we're not gonna hit our children. And I remember something my pastor said was that no matter how imperfect your parents were, they did everything in their power to give you a better childhood than they had. And I just want to thank my dad for, oh my God, doing his best. And as a father, and especially as a friend to you all, and also as a brother, and also as our family, even to his friends, you're all his family. And just to quote Uncle Eugene, what he said, everyone in this room is my dad's treasures. you were being able to spend time with you all was really the highlight of all his memories. So yeah, that's all. And also I'd like to thank Ate Irene again.
Yeah.
Give her a if it wasn't for her, like she was always so caring towards my dad. Let's give her a break for a moment. No request for the time being, please. But yeah. Thank you, Ate Irene, for also being caring towards my dad. And I'd like to thank all my ninongs as well, and my ninangs, and all my uncles and aunties, biological and not biological, for also taking the time to be intentional towards my dad as well. And for having dinners with him, for watching movies with him. And I'd like to thank you all for that, for showing my dad the love that you also held for him. Okay, and that's all. And I don't know how to close this.
Yay!
Okay, next message is from Mrs. Calma. She was our Filipino teacher in high school, and she was here the other day for the cremation. I would really miss his inspiring messages, quotes, and humor. But one thing I will always remember is the video of my favorite basketball player, Jojo Lastimosa's heartwarming message, which truly surprised me. Rod told me he had a surprise, so happy and was so touched with his effort of doing the interview just to make me happy. Teachers touch their students' lives, but for me, many of my former students have directly touched my life too. Rod, may your soul rest in eternal peace, and please pray for us. We'll miss you. And Mrs. Calma. So, if you guys want to see Jojo Lastimosa's greeting, it's here with me. And I'll read one more from Ross, Kokoy's sister-in-law. Well, that's me. You and Rodney called me EPs. My claim to fame in my short-lived poker career. Anyway, we called her EPs because she wouldn't lose. She kept surviving even though she had a very short stack already. Okay,
Hello, I am Sally, the auntie of Rodney and younger sister of his mom. I don't know a lot about you, but I have heard a lot about you. Every time Rodney would come to the state and do some work, he and I are the ones, what you would call partners in crime. I would drive him shop for anything for himself, but for his daughter. So much so that even when we met, we had not met Sammy before, that seemed like I know her already. Kasi, alam mo naman, parents would always brag about their children. They're the best. Diba? They're the most beautiful. They're the smartest. So, Sammy is like that to Ron. Wala nang iba. If Alvin, my oldest son, would brag, ayaw sagutin ni Rowena. Sabi niya, Rowena, ano ba sakit niya talaga? Finally, sabi niya, hindi pwedeng sabihin. Okay. So, huminto si Rodney, nag-drive ulit. Finally, he said, Rowena, may bibig ba ang ipin yung pasyente mo? So, I ended up laughing so much at the back of the car and I told Rowena, Rowena, sagutin mo na kasi, gusto si Rodney eh. Sa ganun, yung payabangan, yes. So, sabi nung isa, Rodney, yung I don't remember, but they would do in singing. I don't know if you're aware that Rodney can sing.
Cannot.
Right?
He cannot.
My brother can sing if he has drank 2 or 3 beers. Pag walang beer, he cannot sing. Pero pag nakainom na siya, he thinks he is the Bee Gees. So, kakanta si my brother who is a doctor, kakanta si doctor ng isa sa kanta ni Bee Gees. Rodney would come up with his favorite song in the state. And guess what? I know, I'm sure you all know what is his favorite song.
No, 10 guitars.
10 guitars.
Close, close.
Always sing that song. And he would always actually, ganun pa yung kamay niya. Ganun pa niya yung kamay niya. Ganun pa siya. With all the expression. And we always end up laughing. And that's how Rodney is. But he is our nephew. He is my favorite nephew. And I am sure would like to say that I am his favorite auntie. Because he calls me, oh, my one-day millionaire auntie. Because I'm a realtor back home in the US. So pag may benta, may pera. Right? Pero kinabukasan, wala na. Sabi ni Rodney, alam mo, kayong dalawa, hindi tayo nagkakalayo. One-day millionaire din ako eh. Kaya nga tayo nagkakasundo. But that's how it is with him, and that we're very close with one another. The last time I spoke to Rodney was when he was already having a problem with his own personal life and not so much with work, because we have this nonchalant attitude of work lang yan, andali lang yan, kakakita ko ulit ng trabaho. I would always encourage him to see the humor in it. So, magtatawanan kami lang dalawa. Hindi kami nagiinuman kasi he does not drink. And nasabi niya sa akin, alam mo, but for the record, I'd like you guys to know that he always mention you as his friends. His sounding board are his friends. Okay, wherever he goes, I would hear one name or two names, and then he would tell me some stories, and I'm sorry, I forgot all about it. Senior moment, so I cannot tell you that. But his life is just like revolving between friends and daughters. That's all that matters to him. Always friends and daughters. And when my sister was still alive, she and Rodney had this love-hate relationship, right? All of you know that. Magsisigawan, but at the end of the day, Rodney isa, right? Then kung masyado nang naiinitan, my sister sometimes would happen to call me, she would complain. And I said, palayasin ko. His parents. Because they said, kawawa naman sila, they cannot drive to go to the doctors or whatever appointments they have. So I have to be there for them. Then stop yelling at them. Stop screaming at them. Because they needed you and you needed them. Right? And so Rowena and I came all the way here unexpectedly because we just found out last Monday that he had a massive stroke and it didn't take long. He comes out. I would say the word, he comes out.
Okay.
My two sons love him like brothers. They all grew up together. In fact, yung mga kaibigan namin noon, akala nila, anak ko si Rodney. Yung dalawa kong anak, hindi ko anak, siya ang anak ko. Kasi, nung bata-bata pa, parang magkamukha kami. Pero maganda-ganda pa ako nung bata ako.
No, ano naman.
You know, but
Hanggang ngayon,
I've always mistaken as mother and son. Hindi sa ate ko. I don't know if you've seen the mother. Yeah. And he's more like me. You know? So,
Thank you.
I have to come home. I have to come and say goodbye to my Rodney. Okay. To my one-day millionaire nephew. We're together, we have something in common, and it's only right that I should be here and say goodbye to him, but not exactly goodbye, because as you said, he will always be in your heart and in our hearts. You will never forget somebody like Rodney. He is not very materialistic. He's not. He cares. And when he does, it is deep. And I'd like to say the same thing that we came here. And I'd like to say, Rodney, I will see you soon. Not too soon, but soon. I don't think I will see you in 2 years' time. Like my sister would have said to the father, Roger, I'll see you in 1 year time. But because of COVID, naging 2 years. Okay, but I'm not gonna say that to my nephew Rodney. But instead, wait for us. Prepare the place for us too, so that we can all be together and be happy. So God, here's to you. See you soon. Right? Salamat po. Let's also acknowledge our heartfelt gratitude to Irene. But I really think, please be assured that we do carry you. My brother and I are very happy that you have Rodney's last days in life or last few years are with Irene. Without her, we don't know what would have happened. Yeah? Yeah, Irene?
Okay. Another message from this one from Andrea, my cousin. The last time I saw you in person was at my dad's wake. We will miss your presence, Aya Rodney. We'll also miss seeing the Aya Mark, Aya Rodney tandem. No, we're not a couple. I will always cherish our Bakit Ngayon Ka Lang KTV duet, which JJ also does. Till then, rest in peace, Aya Rodney. And from one of our friends from Ateneo, Paul Santos. Rod was one half of J2, an unpredictable pair of aces in probably the most fun poker group I've ever been part of. It wasn't big money, but more like big banter. We will miss you, Rod. The games won't be the same without you. Save us a seat at the final table. One more message from one of Rodney's co-parents. Rod, thank you for making Auntie Rhea. Rod, thank you for making my mornings in Ika brighter and happier. I am thankful for hours of conversations about life. You make conflict sound so easy to cope up with. Please look after everyone you love. Enjoy heaven, brother. From Rhea. And now I think si Eileen will share some words.
Gusto ko lang pong magpasalamat po sa inyong lahat, kayong mga friends niya, kay Ma'am Raquel, Ma'am Rowena, Ma'am Luzana, sa inyo pong lahat, especially Ma'am Raquel, kasi siya po yung personally na nag-guide po sa amin, Sir, even though na palagi po siyang busy, pagka nag-ano po si Sir Rodney sa kanya, punta po yan. So grateful po kayo kasi kayong mga friends niya, naging yung effort ninyo, yung sacrifices po ninyo sa kanya, nakita ko po yun. Kaya sobrang grateful po ako. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat. Sir Rodney, alam ko, asan ka man ngayon, nasa peace ka na, masaya ko na kasi matagal mo na rin gusto umalis. Kasi sabi mo nga, lagi sakit, pagod ka na. Irene, pagod na ako. Gusto ko na magpahinga, pero nilalakasan mo pa rin yung loob mo. Kasi sinasabi ko sa iyo, kailangan pag ng anak mo, hintayin mo lang, magiging mature din yan someday. Pero alam ko naman, ang mahirap lang, dumating yung time na pinakaihintay mo, dumating yung pamilya mo dito sila. Mahirap lang. Hindi mo na maramdaman yun kasi na. Pero alam ko, nakikita mo pa ng lahat dito. Nakikita mo sila. Kaya sa anak ko sa Rodney, nabayan mo po sila, pamilya mo. At alam ko, nasa at peace ka na. masaya ka na kung saan ka man naroon ngayon. Maraming salamat po sa inyong mga friends niya. Hindi niyo po siya tinagda. Nakita ko po yung sacrifice niyo sa kanya. Yung effort niyo, especially po kay Sir Mark, Sir Popoy. Hindi lang po talaga rin ako inuuna niyo po siya lagi. Iniintindi. Maraming salamat. Panginoon na pong bahala sa inyo. Salamat po.
Okay, meron. This is a message from Ate Kimberly Opo, Desiree Opon, sorry. Just a background there, si Ate Des was the mother of a leukemia patient in National Children's Hospital. She lost her daughter there, but before that, Rodney and I met her. So she posted this in the comments. Way back po in 2016, 2017, nakilala po namin si Sir Rodney sa National Children's dahil po sa inyo, Sir Mark. Sa pagtulong niyo po sa mga bata doon at ng foundation ni Sir Leo, nakilala po namin ni Kim si Sir Rodney na isang napakabait na tao, masiyahin at always positive. Isa kami sa mapalad na nakasama at nakilala namin ang isang tulad ni Sir Rodney. Salamat, Sir. Salamat, Sir Rodney. Rest in peace po, kasama mo na si God. Kumusta mo po ako kay Kim. At sa mga tao naging part po ng laban din namin ni Kim. Maraming salamat po sa inyo lahat. Okay. And now, Raquel will say some words.
I think I need to make clear, family calls me Raquel. So Mark calls me Raquel. Everybody else calls me Ron. So I've been listening to the last eulogies that we've had here, from Eugene and all the way to even Irene. There's 2-3 things we have all given common. So I want to start with those now. First was the food, and I was looking for food because Rodney and I were the siblings that lived the longest together. We are the epitome of the movie Failure to Launch. We did not leave the house until we absolutely had to. So we knew each other the longest now. And so I'm trying to look for so when you talk about shenanigans between me and Rodney, outside of there's very little stories that didn't involve blood, crying, or hurting someone, or money stolen. So I was looking for a nice food thing, and I was reminded of it when someone said baked bangus, and I was talking about it inside the room. I was telling my daughter about it. Many years ago, my mom had a guest, a beloved guest. You know the story now, yeah. And at the time, Rodney and I, when Rodney and I fight, it's not a small squabble. It is an event. It is a tournament. The entire year 2000, we were not speaking to each other. Okay, and then I don't know what happened. We forgot what we were fighting about, and then we just started talking again. But during that time, we had a guest in the house. My mom had a guest, and they were having breakfast. And the breakfast at the time was baked bangus. No, not baked, fried bangus. And my mom is a champion when it comes to choosing fish. We didn't get like small, we got, yeah, this was like, the bangus was like, dude, if you can catch me, you win, you know? Parang ganon. So, parang yung effort ang punin from the baka. Parang ganon. So, nung binake yun, mataba. It was really good. You can, okay, right? And then our guest came down. You know this guest, right? We had the guest down, and she said, "Oh, may I have this part? May I have this part? It's not about the belly. May I have this part because I know that I hope you know, this is my favorite." And she took it and scraped the whole thing. Scraped that. She said, "Te, ingat." Parang gano'n. And at the time, I went down first because I had school. And Rodney was like, he's a late riser, diba? So, and I was talking to my mom. I did not have any of the belly, nor any of the fish. In fact, I didn't have breakfast. I just said good morning. I was like, and then I went on my way. Rodney, as you probably know, is when he's not a morning person. He's not, when he wakes up, it takes a while. Diba? So he went down to have breakfast and then he saw what remained of that bangus. I don't know why he chose to blame me. And he went on. He profanity. Diba? And the lady was no, that the lady was like, swapang talaga yan. Lakwentan kapatid yan. And left. Ayun, nawala na raw siya ng gana. So siya. My mom, with the guest was and then, syempre, hawak-hawak pa naman yung guest. Just was, I'm so sorry. I thought no one wanted it. How can you not want it? We would leave everything else but the belly. Diba? So, years later, Rodney visited the States. And the guest was there. And they served the bangus. And she scraped it again and says, Rodney, I know this is your favorite. You can have it. And Rodney was like, oh. Yeah, you know, I was really just fighting with Raquel at the time. But I don't know, but it was when he came home, I know my mom said it wasn't Raquel that took it. It was the guest. Okay. And then another thing that you guys kept talking about was how accommodating he was picking you up all the time. All the time. Someone here was like, oh, he would leave his phone open just in case the guy wanted to get a ride at 2 a.m. or something. Sabi ni Marquette, it was Eugene. Hello, Eugene, you're there, no? And then the other one was like, oh, whatever. I need you guys to know that your rides were at my expense. That man never gave me a ride. Okay? There was one time I was in on a Saturday in FCCY. I was teaching kids / flirting with boys. But I think that's what annoyed him the most. No? So I saw him, and then I didn't know how to get home from the Saturday thing, and then I saw him. He was playing basketball with Silalit. He was playing basketball. So I said, yes, my brother is here. I'm gonna get to go home, not having to take a cab. So I saw him and I said, Rod. He turns to me and he goes, puno na yung kotse. We're going home to the same place. That was one. Another time, he did pick me up. Happily, he was there, but in the car, the Corolla PSY 835, he was there. There were already 5 people in the car. Well, and he was angry at me, like I was the inconvenience. And why bother picking me up? And then I said, one of them has to like squeeze in the back. And he was mad at me. Why are you making my friend squeeze in the back? Because alam mo, kandungan ko si Ben, di ba? Okay, so those are the stories that I have of him picking me up. But you know, I hold no grudges now, diba? Because his possessiveness with the car, okay, has taught me how to commute. Right? I can take a Jeep in high heels. I can LRT in ankle-length boots and stuff. And because of that, my social life blossomed. So my dears, he's there now with my dad. And my dad is still asking, why do you think Raquel turned out the way she did? We can all tell him, it was probably my fault. Okay, so, and you guys played a part in it because you took the seats in the car, so thank you for my social life. Okay, so that's two of the things that you guys kept talking about. And the third one, of course, is this lady over here. The last woman in my, can you hand me the films? The last woman in my brother's life is Irene. Okay. Yeah. Irene's first day with us was when Rodney was discharged from Medical City, October 26th of 2021. He was discharged from Medical City after the big one that left him hemiplegic and changed him fundamentally right now. She was there from the time we discharged him from Medical City until the time we took him out of UER. 24/7, no holidays except for 10 days, 2 years ago. No breaks. And just for those people with things in their head, she's going to work for me, leave it alone. Stop it. Okay? This is not an auction, nobody wanted. You're just kidding. Irene is, without a doubt, I think the 3 years that she bought us, so vital. And some stories about Irene. When Irene is a licensed caregiver. I'm making everybody jealous. But she's a licensed caregiver. So sorry, still working for me. She's a licensed caregiver. When she started with us, it was a hard adjustment period. And she did once in a while toss her between me and Rosanna. The reason why is because, if you remember, because Irene, as a caregiver, everything to her is urgent. Everything. Okay? So the first few months, whenever anything would happen, she would text us, but she would never use periods. It was always exclamation points. Ma'am, wala na pong gamot si Sir Rodney, which means meron pang 1 week supply. 1 week. But of course, she would text that to Rosanna. And to Rosanna, who didn't know the arrangement, to my auntie, who didn't know the arrangement, tatawag niya, until finally, I couldn't understand why Rosanna and I were like butting heads until I realized everything was so urgent. So I had lunch with Irene and Rodney, and I said, give me your phone. And then I said, Irene, this is the exclamation point. This is the period. Like Tinder, stay left. Okay? No more using the exclamation point. I tell you, after that, everything was at peace with me and Rosanna. Was like, okay, we were all chill now. Okay. I don't have words for Irene. You don't get that kind of, it's not skill, it's not skill anymore. The training, of course, is there, license. Once we get license. Okay. Licensed caregiver, but it takes more than that. 24/7, no days off. Every night, Rodney is a nervous Nelly. So every night, almost every 20 minutes, Irene, and then in the morning, therapy, dialysis, buying the meds, dealing with me, dealing with everything, having me yell at him, having me yell at her, all of this for 3 years. It's not skill, it was heart. She was so invested in Rodney's life that she had an opinion on everything, and I was like, lady, calm down. Okay. So I think when she said that she wanted to work for me, I think you should know your family. Pamilya ka sa akin. Because you're the last woman in my brother's life. Ew. I'm sorry. And then there's one. I think it needs to be said. I don't have one brother. I have three. One came a little later. Okay. Mark. When Rodney got sick, the truth of it was when Rodney got sick, I didn't want anyone to make me kulit. And I told my auntie that because my mom was still alive. So I said, I'll take care of Rod, take care of Mom. Make sure the lady doesn't call me every 20 minutes. Okay? So I thought it best to just update. And then you can, whatever questions you had, it was all there. That was the idea of the updates. And then Mark saw the update, and then I thought, well, I better give it to Mark. Give it to Jello, give it to Joffrey, give it to... And then I was like, okay, so nobody's asking me questions, thankfully. Wala na yung mga, how's Rod? Mga ganon. Diba? It was just there. And I think I got a lot of people, a lot of you met me because of that. And a lot of you praised me for the decisions that I made. I think you should know, 80% of those decisions, outside of the medical ones, 80% of those decisions were made either after a phone call to Mark, after consulting with Mark, or basically I just made those decisions because Mark said it was the right thing to do. Okay. Oh wow. I forgot what I was gonna say. Very many times during the last 3 years, Mark was the first person that I would call, or Mark was my first conversation of the day, and the last text or the last phone call at night. Sorry, husband's there. But yeah, it was that way. It was that way all the time. Mark was always there. So wasn't you, honey? Wasn't you? Because you were. It was Mark. It was Mark. What should we do tomorrow? How do we do this? What's going to happen? And then Mark would be like, "Don't worry about it. It will work itself out. I'll take care of this." So many times it was, "I'll take care of this. You just do that. I'll take care of everything else." Even when Rodney was supposed to go home that day, I left it to Mark because I was supposed to take it. So it was so fine. He was just a shadow all the time on me. Every decision, every time I was scared to make decisions for Rodney, he was behind me. He said, whatever you do or whatever you decide will be right. So there, that's Mark. I don't know if you know this, but I was not supposed to be the doctor in the family. The great hope of my mom and my dad, well, my mom, the great hope of my mom was Rodney was supposed to be the doctor. And it was always, kailangan si Rodney yung mag-doctor kasi siya yung matalino. I was like, there's one person. Kailangan si Rodney yung mag-doktor kasi si Rodney yung matalino. And Rodney ate that shit. Rodney ate that up every time. And he's like, yeah. All through high school, siya yung mag-doktor. Yeah. And then college came. And that's when he finally admitted to my mom, hindi ako pwede mag-doktor, takot ako sa dugo. Okay. So, all eyes fell on the last one, and I was like, I can't be the way home. Okay? And I figured, hindi ko papayagan na nanay ko mag-artista. So, pinolback ko ang doktor, di ba? So, I was the doctor. Okay, of the many things, as a medical student, one of the many things that I had the unpleasant task of doing, in terms of Rodney was in and out of the hospital, but yung dati was all dressing stuff. I think he had a surgery in Medical City. It was for something embarrassing, I think. Or he had his gallbladder taken out or hemorrhoids or something, I don't know. And then our auntie decided, sabi niya, hey, the nurses are busy. You're a student. Why don't you put the suppository on Rodney? I was like, thermometer, BPA, anything. Do I have to stick something up my brother's butt? And then he said, come on, you can do it. And Rodney was like, look, I'd rather you do it than the pretty nurse. First time I had to, so there. I shoved that suppository up my brother's butt and out of my memory. So there. And then I became the doctor because that can't be for nothing. I can't have shoved something up my brother's butt and not be a doctor. Okay. One of the great hardships of being the doctor in the family. My sister is in the States, so she doesn't really get to help me. One of the big is having to deal with tragedies in the family and having those decisions fall to you. Or decisions are easy, but the actual things to do. This eulogy, actually, this eulogy is really not to talk about Rodney, but I need to say this, maybe confess, if you can say, to you that loved him the most. On September 16, 2021, Rodney had the big stroke, the first big stroke. It wasn't his first stroke, but it was the big one. My husband and I looked everywhere for a place for him in any hospital we could find. Our preference, of course, was St. Luke's, but it was riddled with COVID because they're virus, the Omicron, whatever. And then UER wasn't taking any. Our friend, the neurosurgeon in St. Luke's Global, said, I'll find you a bed here, just get here. And I was using the courtesy lane of EDSA when my husband called me and said, my bride found you a bed in Medical City. Go there now. So I did. That's a very long story. This is a long-winded way of saying we ended up in Medical City. So after a while, he was in San, and I swear to you, one of my most nerve-wracking memories. I remember exactly where I was when I was waiting for Rodney's CT scan, and I was talking to Mark. And Mark told me, I want you to know your brother said he doesn't want to be in pain, or he doesn't want anything less than what he was. And I snapped at Mark. And I said, then you tell me, when am I supposed to quit? It is not my nature, maybe as a physician, or a person, or a daughter, or a sister, it is not in my nature to stop. My mother is still alive. So tell me where I should stop. That was the first time I heard it from Mark, and he said, whatever you decide will be right. We found out he had that bleed 40 days in the hospital. And in hindsight, there were many times when I should have stopped. He was intubated twice. At any point there, I could have said no. But my mom was still alive. And then my mom died. that weekend before he was supposed to go home. And I thought, shit, maybe my mom needed a driver. And my brother was really supposed to go with him. Her. I might have made a mistake. When Rodney came out, he wasn't the same. Wait, half was him. Half of him couldn't move. He couldn't play cards. He couldn't pick his nose, he said. He was witty, but not as, he wasn't as fast. His life changed so much. And I felt so bad about that. But 3 years, and you guys got to spend so much time with him. So I love hearing stories about Mark and Koy taking him out, or you guys seeing him and reunions and stuff. Maybe I didn't do the wrong thing. But this time, I was careful. I knew I had to do the right thing now. When he was in distress, I was talking to my sister and I was asking her, do we intubate? And then we were talking in technical terms. If this is stroke is here, stroke is there, don't. And like I said, everything is just so easy when it's in theory. When he came back, we had no results first of the bleed. And the only thing I could think of is that you guys didn't say goodbye yet. You weren't there yet. So I did it again and I intubated him and I went against his wishes. And I intubated him so that you guys have the chance to say goodbye. In his last moments, I did it all. I'm proud of that. I did it all. I promised him once I'd see him through. Wherever he goes, I'd see him through. So I did it all. I took out his peg. I took out his catheter. I took out his hair. I wouldn't let anyone touch him. And he died when I was holding him. So I saw him through. Because Mark once told me Rodney was nervioso. He got it from my mom. And I wanted him to know if he goes, he was going to go holding my hand. So up until he turned to dust, I was there. And I saw all of you here, and I hear your stories. And I saw you in the last 2 days. And you guys got to say your goodbyes. You got to say your goodbyes. And I think I did the right thing. I choose to believe I did the right thing. And I saw him through. And I kept my promise. And I want to thank you, Mark, because a lot of the time you kept me standing so that I could keep my promise. I think he's in a better place with better boats, better cars. And thank you everybody for loving him. Thank you everybody for holding me up. All your calls, all your texts, everyone, even strangers would text. Thank you. You held me up so that I could keep my word. Thank you very much.
Few words.
I know that girl.
I don't know what to say, but while listening, all I can think of is
we weren't super close. I kind of regret saying no to the times I could have spent time. But that's okay. Um, I remember the rare times we would have lunch. I remember when he first got sick. I didn't know what to feel. I was 9, 8. This all feels like a big fever dream. This doesn't feel real. Sometimes I still think he's alive.
That's how it feels in the house. Parang, oh, aren't you gonna see Rodney?
And it's okay. People come and go.
Okay. Okay, baby.
You know,
Right.
maybe in another lifetime he would have lived longer. I remember my mom said, my dad, I forgot na who. They said he was always passionate to give to beggars daw.
Yeah. That's
Is that true?
true.
Is that true?
Yeah. Thank you.
And you feel like SVU? And you feel like Law and Order Special Victims Unit? 5, 6 months ago, ba? He finished all of it though.
In Netflix. Yeah, Yellowstone nice.
Yes. Don't reason I'm saying this. It's because I don't want to regret like not being able to say it. Because a lot of the times we regret not saying the things we're supposed to say. So that's why we should say it.
So, thank you.
You know, I'm kind of sad na, like, I was young when he got sick. I was able to get too much of him. Am I repeating ideas?
Yes, you are, darling. It's okay.
It's okay. That's okay. That's good. That's it.
I just wanted to close with a verse that I read yesterday from Proverbs. One who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. I read yesterday. And I guess to us, that's what Rodney was. And maybe, as I said, we can give him like one last round of applause. Uh, the match tomorrow will commence at 10 a.m. and then the Inurment will follow soon after.
And
Thank
then-
you everyone for coming.
Wait, Mark, look here. Look there. The post.
And then in one of Rodney's favorite restaurants afterwards, the reception will be in Look Food. Okay. Thank you.
May need a question and a song to be played with a string based. Which one?
Which one?
Sings. The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Bow your heads for God's blessing. Merciful Lord, you know the anguish of the sorrowful. You are attentive to the prayers of the humble. Hear your people who cry out to you in their need and strengthen their hope in your lasting goodness. We ask this through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
And may our loving and merciful God bless you all, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Iwan po muna natin yung urn. No. Hindi pa kapatid.
Balik na namin. Sa PSY 8.5. Vanilla na drinks. Smart. You only have a digital.
Picture pa kayo?
Yeah.
Wag hindi naman natin ikasara. Anong gusto niyo?
Okay lang daw.
Yes, kasi ako ng picture. Bigay sa
Thank you.
sunod.
4-4. Yeah, because they're done. No, it's over. You mean this one?
Maybe sunod. Ano ba siya dati? Ano ba siya dati? Ano siya? Hinilig lang. Sa basket, sa rescue.
Kinitawag ako ni Raquel.
So,